Be very, very quiet. Felix is trying to get his kids to sleep. So he's not joining us, he's only doing tech.
Yep.
So we are back with another episode of Revivalcast. We've got Sail and myself today, and we have a couple of blogs to cover. We've got mining, which just came out last week, but I think we're going to start with well, we've got renovations and we've got mining, and we'll work backwards. But the first thing I wanted to talk about was the uh, forum um, thread on player. Let me see. I'm going to put this in chat real quick. Player stashes. That's what it's on. Did you get a chance to take a look at that sale?
Yes, sir, I did. And I think we actually talked about it a little while ago in IRC too, just for a brief bit. But yeah, I saw that and I thought it was a really, really neat potential uh, idea. I mean, there are problems with it, no matter how, regardless of how exactly it's implemented, but I do like basic thought. I think it leads to some potential fun that I certainly could see myself trying out, and could certainly see other people using for strategic and tactical advantage as well, in their actual dealings rather than just the thing in itself.
Yeah, well, the question that came up was whether or not we would be able to bury treasure. So if we'd be able to dig out someplace in the wilderness and stash chests. Because we don't have, we'll have like locks and we'll have a vault available in our homes, but they aren't 100% secure. People will technically be able to, or potentially be able to break in and steal from them. So I think the idea was whether or not we'd be able to, Soul Blazer asked, I think, whether or not we'd be able to bury our treasure. And I was thinking right off the bat that one of the restrictions that would be preventing us from that is that Revival isn't a voxel world, so we aren't going to be able to deform the world and leave holes. I'm not even sure we're going to be able to drop things out in the world, and I'm wondering if we can get confirmation on that from the devs. I think that was the final thing that wasn't answered in that thread, whether or not we'd even be able to drop a chest and have it stay out in the world, like behind a tree or something, for very long. And I think part of that issue is going to be on performance. You know, if we have too many objects in the world, it's probably going to be a drag on resources, and that's probably one of the reasons why we have instance housing to begin with. But the concept of somehow leaving treasure out is, I mean, that would be great if we can get it. I'm just not sure about the mechanics around that. Seems like the devs do have some kind of idea for getting it to work, even if we aren't able to actually deform the world and leave a hole and bury something over top of it. But that seems like it's going to work with tags. So basically, we'll have hopefully some kind of mini game where we can create the treasure place, and the world will give us back. If we have the cartography skill, the world will give us back a map that the owner can see, and you'll use the tag from the map to be able to go back to wherever you left your stash and pick it back up. Doesn't really allow for other people stumbling across that on their own in the wilderness and picking it up. But I'm thinking that we should be able to copy those maps maybe and give them out to other people, or might even be something that we'd be able to steal if we're looting from other people. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't. I mean, assuming it's a map just like any other map, then it makes sense to me that you'd be able to, steal it or acquire it as an item. And that all of its tag functions would apply in the same way, and so that if you wanted, you could, peek over someone's shoulder at the map they're looking at, before they go try to, pick up their stash of keter salts or whatever, and go ahead and score big on some illicit money, or just follow them and blackjack them and whatever. There are
Right.
certainly other means of getting to the same end. Um, and actually, Snipe Hunter is confirming in chat that you can copy or steal the map just like any other map. Um, and as far as item persistence goes, we can drop items on the ground unseen, and they'll last a decent amount of time. I don't know exactly what that means in strict terms, right? Because I mean, if you're looking at, for instance, like World of Warcraft, the loot that's on, like the ruined pelt on a dude is gonna last for like all of a couple minutes tops, and then it's gonna be called, right? So I don't. And then I think UO had up to like 15 minutes or something before stuff started disappearing, or 5 maybe. I don't know, but I don't know exactly what a meaningful amount of time is in this case, but it will persist. And then, as was alluded to in the thread, there's also a template for burying items, and buried items, according to Snipe, will last at least for as long as until they're uncovered, right? Or unless there's some sort of exceptional circumstance that causes them to be destroyed, um, which is
Yeah, but
neat.
that's the map. That's the thing with the map and the tags thing that we
Yes,
really looked at.
yes,
So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
But that stuff will last.
yeah, until you come back and pick it up.
Yeah, forever. Uh, yeah, no, I totally like the idea. I think it would be cool if someone started, like, I think I've mentioned it before, even like an in-world geocaching thing where they would put like a little book or something in, a cache somewhere, right? And just, you know, somehow leave clues. I mean, it's awkward, right? Because if the system isn't implemented in a way that someone can basically, um, well, I guess that said, if they just distribute maps, right? Like if they post a map on a public board, and then people can just read it, and then essentially gain the tag to find the thing, then they could just read read the map on the board, and then go out hunting for the cache, and then presumably there'd be another map inside the cache that would give them a clue to the next cache, and so on and so forth. Um, but yeah, I think that'd be pretty neat, right? Um,
Yeah. So it was kind of interesting to go from there to the mining blog. Snipe did confirm in there that there was something of a performance issue that was the reason that they did not want to go with deforming the world, and that's why they have the current system that they're working on for mining, which I would think might play in somehow. So yeah, one of the things that I had been wondering if it would be a possibility is using the study ability to come across hidden treasure. If other players were going to be stumbling across hidden treasure, I was thinking that might be one of the ways to go about doing that. Um, so we did get a little bit of confirmation that mineralogy has a study skill that will help you find the veins of minerals or whatever's being hidden in that sense. One of the things I thought was really cool is that you can also find gems and fossils using that mineralogy ability.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And the raw mechanic of it was actually somewhat different than anything I was expecting. And in fact, I mean, I don't know how I feel about it until I try it, but I think it's actually kind of neat. So for anyone who hasn't read the blog yet, basically, when you try to use the mining skill, right, or surveying or what have you, you're basically given a grid, a two-dimensional grid, and then you can essentially click. It's sort of like 3D, well, not 3D Minesweeper, but like it's, how to put it. Basically, you're trying to hunt around for like the vein of particular material, right? Whether that's a mineral or like something fancy or metal or ore or whatever. Or fossils even. You're trying to click around, right? But then it's basically risk, how to, like, it's Minesweeper-esque, but I don't have a great way. It's Minesweeper-esque,
Right.
man. But I
Right,
also
where
I'm
it hits
curious to
all
know
of
how
those.
deep
So
you can
for
go.
people that don't know about Minesweeper, because we might have some people who are under 20 or so, um, that Minesweeper, if you hit one, it's going to affect all the blocks around it or some of the blocks around it, so and cause them to explode. Um, and there's a similar thing where you're tapping on areas of the rock, and that may cause other areas to chip away and might either damage the minerals or the gems or the fossils that you're looking for with revival. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the higher your skill, the less chance you have of damaging damaging a mineral or a square or whatever. Um, yeah, so I mean that was very very not what I was expecting. But it's still intriguing, right? Like Minesweeper, for instance, has very particular strategies that you can run on it to try to have a better chance of winning, right? Some Minesweeper boards, I'm pretty sure, are technically unwinnable, but I might be wrong about that, or at least they're down to chance as to whether or not you actually screw up. But I'm not a professional Minesweeper player. I don't know that for sure. I play shit like Solitaire, man. Solitaire's got unwinnable boards. I don't know, but yeah, it's neat. So Snipe is actually confirming that there are 3 to 5 levels on average for how deep the actual grid goes. So there's, I guess if you consider Minesweeper to be 1 deep, this is at least 2 deep, right? In terms of you have a surface layer and then layer 2 and then layer 3. Um,
And
yeah.
this is being played in a mini game, actually, if we didn't say
Yes.
that before.
Yes.
So it's not actually affecting the outer world, but there's a mini game that we can see I think it's once we activate the study skill. Is that right?
I don't recall quite off the top of my head. I can check. It's
Oh, it
something
says
like that, though.
execute. It says
Yeah.
execute the mining skill, so that's separate. Once you've found
Yeah.
a place you want to mine, it's just a matter of executing the mining skill. That's what. Um. So yeah. So I guess you study, and that gives you information, and then you have to initiate the skill if you're gonna do something with whatever you found.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess that means you can have an independent role for the surveyor in relation to the miner, right? So you might have someone who's not particularly enamored with the mini game, but likes sort of hunting for like the larger ore deposits. And I don't strictly know if the design permits this, right? But you could have someone maybe, if it does, dedicated to just finding or streaks, basically places where you would start the mini game, and then people who are more interested in the mini game or who enjoy it more can then come and actually get the resources out of the ground, maybe.
Well, it says mineralogy's the mineralogy skills version of study. So it seemed like study and the form of study is attached with the skill, and how well you study and discover things is probably related to how high your skill is. But that's still a fascinating concept. I wonder how people could push that. That's kind of interesting. Push those
Yeah, Snipe is.
differences.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And Snipe is saying that mineralogy plus cartography effectively yields a surveyor. Um,
Hmm.
so it seems in some way doable. Whether or not it's profitable or efficient, who knows, but it seems like something that someone could actually go about and do, which is neat. I really like that because
Hmm.
it's just more stuff people can do that they particularly find enjoyable and get maximum reward on their playtime, which is nice. I like that. Cool. Very cool.
On your mining time, I guess. Yeah, because that's the main thing we want to avoid. We've got to find the sweet spot between fun and grinding. Um,
Yep. Yep.
um, yeah, new techniques will open up which can be used in the game, such as stone sense, which will give you hints as to what lies beneath the currently exposed layer of rock, and various techniques or ways to tap out cells of the rock. So we have something like that in Landmark. If you're going out to mine there, you'll want to have, and I forget the name that we used for them at the moment, but we had like a gem seeker. That was a contraption that would let you know where the gems in the area are, and then there was a or something that would let you know um, what minerals were out and where. So it seems like we'll have something similar attached to the mineralogy study aspect that will help you look specifically for what you're looking for. And that could be an interesting thing too. If there are differences, if you could focus on fossils, focus on gems, or focus on minerals, depending on which you were more interested in. That would be
Yeah, I mean,
interesting if you could have a different focus, or each player could have a different focus or character or whatever.
right? Well, I mean, we already have confirmation that they're ether-based dowsing rods, right? So like, you could you could have some sort of crazy like archaeologist dowser that basically tries to find magical remnants and artifacts of stuff by combining their cartography, archaeology, maybe mineralogical survey, and dowsing stuff potentially, or like a team, right? People who work together, because specializing in that many things as a single character would be, you know, potentially difficult. But
Snipe says it's highly variable as it depends on player skill, RPG skill, and the density of resources in the area. And Umbus smells fossils. Uh, they stick to the tongue. Now I see some bone crafting there going on. Um, and I'm just left for a moment thinking about what happens if you get fossils with bone crafting. Golem making. Maybe we can do Jurassic World. I don't know.
there is that one little tiny island just north of Crown's Rock.
We'll have to see. Um, yeah, were you thinking about doing any mining?
Oh, probably not. I mean, I might try it just to see whether, I suddenly get addicted to the mini game, but no, but by and large, I'm not intending to do mining. At least not directly. Of course, if I encounter it, in the course of doing whatever it is I'm trying to do, then I certainly won't shy away. But yeah, yeah, I still like. I mean, even just by and large, like any of the designs that come out on pretty much any facet of this game, even if I'm not going to be doing them, I think they're very enlightening because they give us an insight into what the actual goal of various parts of the design process, um, or excuse me, what the goals of various parts of the design process are, which I think is valuable to know as a player because then you can infer what other things would then be likely to be um, for the future or for trying to reverse engineer certain systems for benefit in the game. But yeah, I totally dig it.
Yeah, it's not
I
on my radar of things to do, even among all of my 21 alts at the moment. But I would imagine that if there were some resource that I needed, especially if I were out in the plains and wanting to get special items from the plains, I might want a whitesmith or give items to a whitesmith to make plane related armor or trinkets. I might need to go out and mine stuff in the plains or something like that. I probably wouldn't be too interested in mining um, on the prime plane, but it depends. I mean, if our nearby mine, wherever we are, runs out of minerals and maybe the whole area needs to go out and have a day where everybody's mining in order to get enough stuff to make the armor that we need because the siege is coming along or something. I don't know. I might go out and force with a bunch of other players and have a day of mining. That could be interesting to see what happens. Um, Resources are finite, so
Well, I mean, it might even be a whole expedition, depending on what you're talking, or on
Yeah, that's what
how,
I'm saying.
what
Yeah,
defines a region, right? In this
yeah,
case, for resource regions, because I don't actually think we have any indication on how large, or what the weighting is for how different individual veins drain the area resources and stuff like that, and they might not even work like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess there's a certain precedent insofar as the weather goes, because the weather operates on a system of hexes. We don't necessarily know how large each hex is, but judging by the fact that the devs like to reuse certain design principles for efficiency, I imagine that the hex system would probably make sense as far as allocating different mineral and resource regions, with maybe some hand touches, just as needed. So yeah, I guess at that point you could say that the entire world is stitched together, in a tiling or a tessellation of hexagons, and then it's a question of how large those hexagons are in order to figure out whether or not any particular region will be drained quickly or slowly based on any activity within it. So yeah, I
yeah.
don't know.
Snipe Hunter says the discovery of a new lode of ore could be a gold rush because of the resource model in the game, and he's curious to see that play out. Yeah, I don't particularly see myself going the gold rush route, but we'll see. I don't know what happens. It depends on
Cool.
what other new material is discovered too, right? I don't know that I would do that for gold or silver, but there could be some stuff again for armor or for weapons or certain kinds of trinkets where we'll want to covet that material if it's magic worthy or something.
Well, here. What about alt number 22? You sell pans to people panning for gold, and make enough money to fund all of your other alts.
Well, our equipment is important to the products that come out of our mini games, so that could
True,
be an
true.
idea. It might take a special kind of pan, a Dygz pan,
Right, the dig sieve, the special one.
and I'll
Cool.
have some snake oil too to sell along with it. That'll keep it nicely greased for.
Right, it keeps the hinges very, very supple so that they don't squeak on you.
So one of the other cool things about mining that was mentioned in the blog is that similar to um, building camps up into cities and then kingdoms, um, players will also be able to, on the gold servers, um, turn camps into mines, and have the storytellers help build those up from a mining camp to a full-fledged working mine.
Yep, and there are also quarries as well, and we didn't get too much on the difference or distinctions between quarries and mines. But I do think quarries are likewise valuable because obviously stone is a building resource. Now, given the fact that players, even on a gold server, can't strictly just build offhand, right? Like there needs to be, a camp first, and then it needs to grow and such. I'm still curious as to how actual stone is used in the game, when we can't really actively use it, right? Or at least we as players can't use it in, that kind of thing, in crafting terms, right, on a large scale. I mean, hell, I guess there's always siege engines, right? But throw the boulders. But I'm very curious to see what the actual applications of large quantities of stone are, given that from the player perspective, there's not a way to use it.
Well, if we're building pyramids, we're going to have a lot of stone.
Yeah, right. I mean, which is true, but it would require a lot of stuff first. Like, I guess my point being, there's not a passive drain on, for instance,
Yeah,
stone from the world.
I think the better way to phrase the question is how does that work on a F2P server rather than a gold server? Because on a gold server, we can come up with ways that storytellers could help us build
Spend it,
castles
yeah,
or towns or whatever. On an
yeah.
F2P server, why we would need massive amounts of quarry is interesting,
Oh,
intriguing.
Snipe just completely reminded me of something that I 100% forgot about. So he says that stone is a trade commodity, but there are also projects that use stone that players can start, such as camp items and also golemancy. I'm like, whoa, I forgot about golemancy, dude. So hey, let's find all that
But
good
if we
shit.
need quarries for golemancy, that's a
Well,
very
for
scary
stone
world to live in.
golemancy,
I'm saying that's a very no. I mean, stone. You don't need a quarry for stone golemancy. That's a boulder should do for that. But if somebody needs a quarry for stonemancy, that's a very scary world to be in.
who knows, man?
Stone
Maybe
guardians. Yeah.
golems. Maybe it burns out the stone, right? So like if you accidentally screw up the golemancy ritual or something, or if you don't properly go through it, it just blasts all the stone to dust, and then you have to start over with a new chunk of rock. Or like maybe it like hyperdensifies. Wow, that was English. Hyperdensifies the stone, so you have to start with like a giant monolith, right? And it'll eventually shrink down to the size of your fist because of the ether, warping through it or something. I don't know, dude. Lore.
Umbwa mentions big strong hands. Big hands
Oh, big
means
strong hands. They were such
but
big strong hands.
he also mentioned stone guardians. So I think that's the other interesting thing too, is that we do have those gargoyles or whatever that can be guardians out along the roads that come to life to protect travelers. And I'm
Oh, that's a good
imagining
point.
in some of the cities we have things like that too, like the night gaunts. I think in the night gaunt statues in Crown's Rock.
Yeah, over
We
in
want to
Night
keep
God's
an
Roof.
eye on or make sure they aren't following us,
Yeah,
literally.
well, the city improvements thing is a good point, right? It's like, I mean, if you have a city that doesn't have, pavement, I guess, for instance, right? Or maybe it's just gravel, right? Then I guess, or a neighborhood or whatever. Then you could go through the political work of attempting to rally enough people behind paving the roads to improve, travel and whatnot, um, which would then consume stone. Interesting. Huh.
Snipe Hunter says, yeah, if everyone dies in a mine, the mine won't go away. In fact, a few of the dungeons of the game are actually ancient mines. And that's one of the things that I was thinking coming out of the blog is that it's not just ancient mines that might be a good dungeon. Current mines probably are good dungeons too, depending on what's living down there. Uh,
Yeah.
we, we, we don't know. How many layers deep do we get? Do we have to go get to the center?
How many licks does it take
Someone's
to get to the
lair.
center of the lesson?
Yeah. um, yeah, I actually found the end of the blog fairly ominous because it seems like those would be good places to have a dungeon or to
Yeah, for sure.
tap into a dungeon accidentally. Um, Snipe says, yeah, that's part of the reason storytellers are involved with their creation. Yeah.
Nice.
So we're about halfway at the halfway mark. We can jump over to renovations. Now, I still don't remember. You have a what? Do you have a tenement? What do you have?
I have a manse,
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
but I only have two renovation kits. I know a lot of people have purchased like basically all of the reno kits,
Hmm.
but I've only got a few. So, um,
And it's funny. The reno kits are $5.
yep, I believe so.
Okay.
Though that said, there is, I think it's still going on right now. I don't know. I think there's still actually a sale, or well, a promo
20%.
code. Yeah, for 20% off of yeah, off of the kits and upgrades and stuff. I don't recall the code off the top of my head, but it's out there, and I imagine someone will dump it into chat very shortly. And so you can save a little bit of coffee money on or laundry money on your housing upgrade kits with that code. It's only going to stick around for like probably a week more at most, but it's out there. Someone's gonna post it. Last Feast. That's it. Last Feast. Thank you, Nightfinger. Um, all caps LASTFEAST. So all you guys on YouTube watching this, sorry, this won't apply to you, but I'm sure it sets a precedent for future sales. So by all means, do not get discouraged. There will most definitely probably be something for you in the future whenever you are seeing this. But yeah, so anyone right now, that's going to end December 9th. So if you want to get some stuff, get some stuff. It'll be good.
So
Yeah, so we. Or, sorry, go ahead.
did you go on your mount? Did you go on your mats and renovate?
I went into my mats and I saw all the pre-made props, but I did not renovate. No, because I'm pretty sure that would actually burn down my house, my real house, from the heat kicking off of my laptop. But
Yes. So one of the great things about the way this rolled out is that the devs went in and actually placed all the furniture in everybody's home for us. And I think that's kind of easy because probably they have different styles, and probably the different styles are the same for most places. Um, I think they could do some copying probably. I hope they didn't have to go into each and every room on every server and hand place everything. Um, but yeah, I mean, I almost wish that Landmark would be able to do something similar because not everybody is a great decorator. So it's nice to go in and um, have a template there already, and you can go in and have a fairly decent looking place that's been prepared by artists, and then you can go in and switch things around however you like. But it also probably gives you some ideas about how to artistically set up a place and things like that. Um, so so you went in, you loaded up your renovation kits, whatever you bought. What did you buy?
so I have both of the standard upgrade or the what are they called? So there's aside from the modular part, there's two kits or two upgrades that you can get. One of them is basically makes the whole place look better, like upgrades the floors and the walls and stuff, and then one of them adds props. Well,
And
technically
what is a
the
furniture kit is, right?
right.
Furniture kit
And
is the
so I
base.
have those, and then I have two modular parts for the modular parts of the room or of the house. But those are not in yet. But they're coming soon, in theory, because we got a big old preview of them in Kedron's recent blog. Um, um, I apologize. I will be right back. I have to let my dog in and hopefully get some light so that I am no longer completely in the dark. Um, one moment.
Okay. Yeah, so I have a tenement, and probably grab some pictures. I think that we should plan on having a show dedicated to pictures, showing people what the various rooms look like, and we should probably have one of the devs on cam with us, or one or two, when that happens. But we'll plan ahead for that. Um, One of the things that I was curious about was how dilapidated the tenements would look, and I'm wondering about in the future what kind of furniture we can buy, and the availability of um, prestige. Well, prestige isn't the lavish, I guess. Lavish furniture in decorated in tenements. I'm afraid that players will go that route, which will have some cognitive dissonance uh, in some ways. But for right now, wow, the furniture in the tenements are pretty grungy, even with the upgrade kits. I mean, those blankets that they have on the beds, those rags that they have on the beds, are pretty raggedy. They're they're not something that I would think about using as a blanket, even as a homeless person.
It's fitting though. It's
I
fitting. I mean,
guess.
Someone's revival is a dirty, dark place, as we've been told time and again. Someone's got to sleep on it, I guess.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah,
somehow I
there.
think I would have more of a one-piece blanket or something. Then I still wouldn't have the raggedy thing that's thrown on top of my bed at the moment. But um, that's okay. That's okay. Um,
But yeah, the all the work though looks really really solid, regardless of what because people have in the forums have been posting a couple of video walkthroughs and screenshots and such of all their housing layouts with some of the upgrades, and all of the work looks fantastic regardless of whether it is scary or sumptuous. It's very fantastic work, and the previews as well of the renovation kit or the modular kits only reinforce that standard. Like everything coming out of the art team is super awesome right now, like crazy. Very 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 commendable stuff, and it's so cool seeing like all the little details. Like for instance, I think it was Everser, right? Posted a picture of a sword, right? That's in the basement of his house. In I guess
he has
he
a
might have
house romance.
it might be a manse actually. It's probably a manse because it has a basement. Well, no, I take that back. There are houses that have basements, but still, either way, there's like a sword down there, and it's like very, very, very detailed. I'm like, dang, dude, like this could have been a placeholder prop. Like there. I mean, I know it's not right. Like I know there's a reason it's not, but like, wow, wow, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even to the so on the lower end of the scale, where we have tenements and cottages, and people have uh, a bucket for washing. They have a wash bucket. They have a poop bucket. Um, the kitchen in a tenement is workable, but it's not what we would normally think of as a um, with running water and all of that. Or even I don't know what does your manse have for that? Does it have like a porcelain basin? What does it have for sinks or something to wash in? Do you know?
I didn't look around specifically, but I'm sure it's got a wash basin. Either like a not leaky wood one, or possibly a pitcher or something. Um, I know there's definitely something in there that fits the description, but I was more so just like looking at all the stuff and being amazed, because if I
Verde
stay in the
says
client too long, I start,
blow up. Yeah,
yeah.
start melting. Yeah. Verde says same bucket. Um,
Oh, it's the same bucket? Oh, dang.
I'm saying a
Well,
window, a hole in the floor. Um, Zero says had a large bowl on a shelf, could be filled with water. Yeah, so the shelving, you had some baskets. The shelves are nice, even in a tenement or cottage. Um, Not nice. I mean, it fits the atmosphere, and it's not, necessarily falling apart.
right, it's
I don't
fun.
know what it looks like if you don't have an upgrade, but you've got some baskets to store stuff in. It's a kind of interesting setup. But by that I mean that it's very atmospheric and has lots of little details that make you feel like um, you're living in a world. You know.
Yeah, it's right. Everything, regardless of how ratty or whatnot, everything looks. It's always in character. It's always in world, which is again just cannot be lauded enough. Um, yeah, it feels good too. Like just like I can't do it personally on my rig, but like watching some of the video walkthroughs, I'm just like, man, I'd chill in this. I'd totally just AFK here, right? And then just
Yeah.
hang out and talk on Skype or whatever. Like, dang, dude. even in some of like the houses and the tenements and stuff, right? Like even those, they just feel all right. Like I would not mind just hanging out and talking with them because they're so unified. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to live in the world. Um, it because of the little details that we have.
Now I will say one other thing from the blog that totally got me excited. Uh, Books are coming.
Hmm.
Like books, my books are on the way. Yeah, so sooner rather than later, I don't know how soon, but sooner rather than later, it seems like there are going to be readable books in from even the basic, not just the library kit, but the some of the other upgrade, like general housing upgrades, include a couple books here and there as well, and it looks like the back end work for those is going in alongside some of the implementation for the renovation kits and stuff. And I am obviously a fiend when it comes to lore. I want to read absolutely everything that there is to read, um, and so I am muy excited for just even one little book to show up in that's readable. I will suffer through zero point 0.5 FPS to read a book, man. I will do it. I will do it. If it takes me an hour to turn the page, I will read it.
Yeah, I hope we have animation for that. We need to be able to sit in chairs. We need to be able to hold the book and look like we're reading the book. Yeah, but especially if we could sit and read, that would be wonderful. Yeah, so one of the things I think some of the next stuff that needs to or that will be worked on is getting along with the renovation kits comes crafting to some degree. So bit by bit, we'll get some of the crafting coming in. Um, and that should be in the next phase along with the renovation kits coming along.
Yeah, I
I
mean, well,
think.
at that point, I mean, I think once the Reno kits come in, I think that technically concludes stage one
Yeah,
production,
yeah,
which means we'd be moving it into stage two, which is some of the um,
yeah.
crafting stuff and a few other things as well. Um, wow, huh?
And we're hoping that they have said before that they might be able to get the our ability to visit each other's homes in earlier rather than later. Earlier meaning earlier than stage three. Some of it's working, but I hope by the time um, I hope before we can visit each other's houses, we're able to do some little bit of crafting, even if it's just cooking um, and I don't know, maybe brewing or something like that. So we have things to do once we visit each other's house besides just stand and look. Um,
You mean
so
we can't manipulate each other's furniture? Come on, dude. We can jump on the table and kick our apples through into the void, right? Like it's possible. It's possible. But yeah, so Snipe
yeah,
confirms that that as far as the plan for the next little bit here is that once they finish the reno kits and the modular stuff, um, part of the team is going to expand into city building, and I guess that means also the external, or excuse me, the exteriors of the houses. I'm assuming, in addition to just all the other buildings that aren't the the houses that they have to work with, that they can sort of template into NPC housing. Um, as well as like the landscape and the terrain and whatever. While another part of the team, or I guess the rest of the team, is going to be working on, as you mentioned, sort of interactivity stuff. So so that would mean both crafting, right, reading books, and also I suppose multiplayer stuff if it's there. Because I know that Snipe and Nombo have a secret desire get us playing, in revival D&D as early as possible. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping. Oh, I was wondering whether or not the plan is to. Is the vision for stage three for us to, once we can get out into the world and start interacting with the city and the city environment, is that going to be with placeholder characters to start with? I know Snipe is working on the origin matrix right now, but I'm not exactly sure um, whether that means that we'll have some character creation, we'll have some models, some new models along with that origin matrix once we go out into the city, or if the plan is to just keep the temp models.
Yeah, I don't know actually where that's slated to come in. I know that we actually the new in the new version of the game there was actually a new player model,
Oh, I
a
didn't pay
sixth
attention to
one.
that.
Yeah, I mean, at least I think there were five before, and there's six now. I
That's
could be
funny.
wrong. There might have been six the whole time. Um, in which case, I'm wrong. I apologize. Uh, but but yeah, it's there's work being done on that. It's at least a little bit, for
Well, I
sure.
think they had not. Oh, yeah, I think they had not been working on new models yet. I think Figment was still stuck on doing props and stuff like that. So I'm not
Well,
expecting
Fig
them
is
to.
doing that crazy, awesome death aspect anime statue sculpt, which
Well, that too.
looks
That's still props, but yeah.
gorgeous. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anime.
I
Anime.
thought it was Anamae. Is it anime?
Oh, I don't know.
There's the extra
I,
A in there.
I think it's more fun to pronounce it anime, just like
Okay.
just for the giggles. But well, actually, to be
Um,
fair, if you're going by Latin pronunciation, I'm pretty sure AE still goes as like A or I, um, maybe. So I don't know. Could be wrong, but it might not be Latin too. What do I know? Uh, for knowing Amba, it's probably like Sanskrit or something, and I have
yeah.
no idea how to pronounce Sanskrit. So even though obviously there's a clear etymology for the goddess's name, at least out of world, um, coming from animus in Latin, meaning spirit. So
Mhm.
uh, it it works. Uh, yeah, this is
Um,
a crazy statue though. Looks awesome. Very nice.
we had a new question in the forums. I'm trying to see where it popped up. Um, not Sachem. Oh, it was Hotin H. Hotin. Um, who was wondering about characters with Asian elements, and that led us into um, a little bit of a lore drop from Ombwa about costumes, especially for um, what people might have worn in Kalasha. Gave a little bit of lore about the difference between warriors and priests and what they wear, and I think the priests are a little bit more ostentatious in terms of jewelry and hairstyles than the warriors. One of the interesting things I thought about that particular um, lore drop was um, after it was written, somebody was asking about warrior women, because I think the way it was written talked about the difference between the way the warrior males dress versus the priests, but didn't mention warrior females. And it seems like in the lore there weren't necessarily very many warrior females in that particular culture that we know of in our current history, or that's known currently in the Leston history.
Yeah, but I mean, but of course that doesn't rule out the potential that they exist anywhere else, which
Right.
is nice because then they can play with that aspect as well. from a narrative standpoint. And I'm sure there's going to be one, like at least one, maybe multiple, just
I'm
because that's an
expecting
outlook
there
that.
will be, yeah, I'm expecting that there will be several currently, um, and I would expect there would have been, given players, there will probably would have been several in Celestin's past. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're remembered. Um, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the players do with that. I'm curious. Uh, the other funny thing about that particular blog is how many aspects of that blog were redacted.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's a cute little Ilphonic in joke at this point from the Star Citizen days and now moving into Revival. But yeah, I'm like, yes, things defined, things defined.
Yeah, stuff happens. Stuff happens. Dark Age stuff happened too, and mysteries. Um, but I'm fashion over function, so it was nice to get some ideas about what they're wearing. So the collagens have caftans of colorful light fabrics, long or short. Both men and women were limited upper coverings in the warmer seasons, and pants or trousers were not a part of ancient collagen dress, but have been adopted in modern times. Hair and beards were worn long, though often braided or plaited. Um, and then the garai, I'm trying to see what they had. Oh, generally light fabrics or soft animal leather, pale colors, complex seam work, which is pretty interesting considering we have tailoring, complicated fastenings. We have tailoring as a skill, or what is it that I'm thinking of? Is it tailoring or um,
What's the function for?
something that has me thinking of like stitch work versus um, what we might have seen in just
Oh, like
large
embroidery?
embroidery. Yeah,
Yeah.
embroidery or just the stitching itself in terms of as opposed to um, just creating large pieces of material or large pieces of clothing. But yeah, somebody working on the seams, that's going to be interesting from a role play perspective. Garai warrior men wore trousers and tunics or skirts and tunics, while women generally wore long dresses or blouses and dresses. Yeah, so I guess it mentioned Garai warrior men, but did not mention Garai warrior women. We'll have to see what that was like in the past. Jewelry is rare among their warriors, but priests and women wore bracelets and necklaces. Um, Haha. We're getting a rundown to 4 minutes. Did we have any questions in chat? I didn't notice any questions.
I actually don't think there were any. Come to think of it, uh,
Yeah,
but
okay. I didn't think anybody saw any. Um, yeah, so we got a bit of a fashion drop, and that's good for me. I'm thinking I might have my main character might be Garavi, so um, and specifically, well, my main character is more of an archaeologist, investigator, symbologist, but might end up having some warrior aspects too. If I can do what I want to do, that might be necessary. If people don't want to go along with the diplomacy of giving up Kongarai, might just have to beat them out
well,
of
you
the
don't
city.
necessarily need to. You don't necessarily need to personally go into combat for that. You could do the more leadership kind of
Yeah,
instigation or backroom stuff as desired, of course, which I'm sure you're already well aware of.
yeah. Um, we did have a couple of weeks ago. We had a funny. Well, it was funny to me. A thread on enslaving players, um, and I was thinking about responding to that, but I chose to wait it out, and sure enough, got the smackdown pretty quick from the devs. Players will not be enslaved. Um, we're not going for that. Um, but it was a nice idea for somebody to think about and at least posit in the forums. Um, I wasn't expecting them to quite go there. But we do have, I'm going to see if I can find it. We did have a really fascinating thread that we don't really have enough time to talk about, I think, about Safe City, the Safe City initiative.
Oh yeah,
And I
the
think
sword scene
that's,
is running.
yeah. hmm and he's hoping to train everyone except for people from Kangarai and how to defend themselves. Um, and that seems to be a fairly large scale initiative. Kind of, I think what was partially touched on there was dojo style. So possibly similar to Cheshire, who I know wants to have a dojo, having schools where they can train masses of people in combat. And that seems like it's going to be reasonably possible since there's also a study ability that can be used with combat to um, watch what other people are doing and learn some techniques from them as they're performing their martial arts.
Yeah. Um, well, I mean, and there's precedent for this. I think I mean, at least in real life, right? I mean, doesn't it's Wing Chun or no? Maybe it's not Wing Chun. What's the? I believe it's a Chinese sort of like kata based thing that people do for health benefits.
hmm
In is it Wing Chun or it's some maybe it's
There's one of them, but I forget
something
what the
else.
other Qigong. Somebody mentioned
Maybe.
Qigong in the forums.
Yeah, but either way, like it's a martial art slash like health. It doing it provides cardiovascular and other benefits,
Yeah,
which is teachable and performable in a large group setting because it's basically everyone working through or Tai Chi, I think, was saying.
Tai Chi. Yeah, Tai
Tai
Chi.
Chi, yeah, where everyone's working through a sequence of katas or forms, which once you learn the form, it's just a matter of doing it and performing it. So there's at least then the question is just whether or not the mechanics of the game should skirt it, but or should intercede and prevent or allow certain things. But I believe Snipe did say in that particular thread that or maybe it was in a thread that came out of that later, but that people would be able to train in groups at least to some extent.
Yeah,
Not perhaps to perfection, but
yeah.
you could impromptu stuff. Um,
Well, at least you could learn, and then there's a small amount that you could improve upon before you have to start your individual one-on-one, and then it's the successes um, of your attacks that's going to increase your prowess much more so than just practicing on like a dummy or something like that, or thin air. So, um, what was the other thing that I was going to touch on real quick regarding that? I can't remember. Um, oh, someone mentioned about Qigong that that's moving the chi around, I guess, your body. They said that that apparently only works for people who are good. And
yep.
so, since
Yep.
I'm sure that people think that it works for them, that makes me feel like everybody thinks they're good.
But
I
that's
I I
that's
know I know I'm good because I can do qigong and it works for me. So
but that's
I'm
that's succumbing
I
to
cannot be evil, right?
that's succumbing to the bias though, right? Like objectively, there must be at least someone who's good at it, either because they can induce within themselves the placebo, or because they actually can do the thing, right? So, there are at least some people who are better at it than others. But yeah,
Yeah, no,
placebos work well.
I'm just saying, I can just imagine people saying, it's demonstrable that I am good because I'm effective at Qigong. I cannot be evil because Qigong works for me. So you might think I'm evil, but you're wrong. I can prove it. Cool, cool. Well, I think that wraps this up time-wise. And yeah, so I think Velix is working on having some guests on with us sometime in the foreseeable future.
I
And
believe that is correct. Yeah.
we should really think about, we'll have to have an offline discussion about when we want to show some pics and maybe have Kadrin or Snipe Hunter or all three on with us and talk about what's new with housing.
Yeah,
Show it
sure.
up instead of just talk about it. Show, not tell. Show. Show and tell.
Yes.
Um,
Yep. And then next week, Umbwa is going to be giving us a new entry in the Day of the Life of a politician in this instance. So there's that to look forward to on Friday. And then I believe Velix will have to correct me on this, but I believe Velix might have a new 10-ton hammer piece coming that's related to Revival. I don't know that for sure, but memory says it's possible. So I'm sure he'll chip in and mention whether or not that's correct in chat. Yes, there's definitely stuff to look next week. Okay. Yep. Oh yeah, part 3 of his interview with Umbwa then. So cool. So there's that to look forward to as well. Yeah. And hopefully Velix will be back as well for next week. So
yeah.
yeah. Cool. Well, excellent. Thank you, everyone. I think that's gonna do it for today's episode of Revivalcast. Once again, thank you for joining us. As always, it's a pleasure to have you around. Even if you weren't asking all of your wonderful questions, it was great to talk with everyone in chat. Once again, Umbwa Snipe, thanks for being here. As always, you help us do stuff better and
Good
give
luck
us
on
everything.
finals, by the way, guys.
Yeah, if you guys fail, we're gonna like come down there and school you. We'll school you, man. Somehow. We'll get Polaris to do it because she's close. So study hard. And have a great week, everyone. And we will see you next time.